I was walking home one night with my mom, engaged in conversation about various topics, when suddenly, a black van screeched to a halt nearby and 4 individuals leaped out. They grabbed me by my collar, and despite my desperate screams and resistance, they refused to release their grip. Amidst the chaos, I could hear my mom's anguished cries, pleading with them to leave me alone. In a horrifying turn of events, one of the men forcibly shoved my mom, causing her to tumble onto the sidewalk. Fueled by anger and fury, I seethed with indignation. These perpetrators then whisked me away, promptly binding my hands, covering my eyes with a blindfold, and unceremoniously tossing me into the back of the van. For the next 2 hours, the van meandered through different locations before it finally came to a halt. My captors retrieved me from the vehicle and ushered me into a house. Once the blindfold was removed, I locked eyes with my captor and exclaimed, "What on earth, Ryan? This isn't how we agreed upon things." Ryan, somewhat apologetic, responded, "I'm sorry, I didn't intend to push your mom, but she wouldn't let go. That woman is incredibly strong." Concerned about my mom's well-being, I retorted, "I just hope she didn't get hurt. You pushed her quite forcefully." Ryan sheepishly admitted, "I'm sorry, baby." Unconvinced, I brushed off his apology with a curt, "Whatever." I inquired about the others, and Ryan explained, "I dropped them off. I didn't want to bring them here." Feeling overwhelmed by the dramatic ordeal, I switched off my phone and retreated to the bathroom. The stress and turmoil of the situation weighed heavily on me, and I sought solace in a lengthy shower. You may be wondering, why had we resorted to such drastic measures? You see, it all began when Ryan transferred to our school, and sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. Ryan was, without a doubt, the sweetest boy I had ever encountered. The moment my eyes first landed on him, I experienced a sensation I'd never known before, love, or at least what I believed it to be. I wasn't entirely certain what being in love felt like, but the constant preoccupation with thoughts of him was a strong indicator. Consequently, my ability to study and focus on my lessons began to wane, and there were times when I even forgot to breathe when he was in my vicinity. It's not ideal, I must admit. I desperately wanted to convey my feelings to him, but there was a small obstacle standing in my way: my parents. You see, my older sister Regan had a child at the tender age of 15, and she and her baby were living with our relatives from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE). My parents, understandably, were determined not to let me repeat her mistakes, so they established this infuriating rule. Thus, I had no choice but to suppress my emotions. However, fate took an intriguing turn one day while I was having lunch in the school cafeteria. To my astonishment, Ryan approached and sat down beside me. My nerves went haywire, with thoughts racing through my head like, "Oh God, please don't let me embarrass myself or say something foolish." Then he calmly asked, "Hey Skylar, would you like to have coffee with me sometime?" I was overwhelmed. Could this possibly be him asking me out on a date? I stammered, "Yeah, sure." "Okay, cool." His next move caught me entirely off guard. He bestowed upon me the most incredible 5-second kiss on the cheek before walking away. I was left in a state of shock, feeling dizzy and trembling for a good 10 minutes, wondering what just happened. 2 days later, we arranged to meet at Lalo's Cafe, and as I approached him outside the cafe, I caught sight of my dad buying coffee inside. Panic set in, and I nervously whispered to Ryan, "Hey, can we go somewhere else? I don't feel comfortable here." Though he sensed something was amiss, he didn't press the issue. From then on, Ryan and I embarked on a clandestine romance, discovering that our feelings for each other ran deep. Unfortunately, a series of unfortunate incidents continued to unfold. I found myself running away whenever I spotted my mom, dad, or even my sister. Ryan was naturally curious about my erratic behavior, so I decided to confide in him and share the whole story. He supported my need for secrecy for a while, but eventually, he grew weary of keeping our relationship hidden. As his birthday drew near, we all yearned to spend quality time together engaging in activities we loved. Ryan suggested that I have an honest conversation with my parents, expressing my desires and hoping they would understand. However, it didn't go as planned. My father reacted with anger, declaring, "If you date anyone, you'll be grounded until you're 18. Devastated, I retreated to my room in tears and recounted the ordeal to Ryan. That's when he proposed the kidnapping idea. "It's just to scare him off," he assured me. "You'll be gone for a couple of days, and then you can return home and do as you please." I thought it was a brilliant solution, and Ryan managed to enlist the help of 3 of his friends for the scheme. Borrowing his dad's van, we set the plan in motion while my mom and I were out walking. I sent them a text message to come pick me up, praying that my mom wouldn't get hurt. She'd already been pushed too far. The next morning, I awoke to my boyfriend kissing my neck, and I knew that the day ahead would be the most amazing and relaxing one of my life. The desire for him was overwhelming, and I resolved that this would be the day I would go all the way with him. My longing for him was intense, and I whispered my desires in his ear. Yet, in a sudden moment of clarity, I remembered my sister and her reckless actions. I yelled at him to stop, abruptly getting out of bed and turning on the TV. My face was plastered all over the news, and I saw my parents holding my picture, tears streaming down their faces as they appealed to the public for help. "Please help us find our daughter," Dad pleaded, with Mom sobbing by his side. We were at Dad's beach house, a 2-hour drive from my hometown. Seeing my parents in such distress weighed heavily on my conscience, and I turned to Ryan, voicing my doubts about our plan. I told him that I needed to return and apologize. Ryan didn't respond immediately, but then my dad said something on TV that left us both stunned. "We are offering an $80,000 reward for anyone with information about her." $80,000? I couldn't believe my ears. Did my parents even have that kind of money? Ryan and I exchanged glances, and he articulated what we were both thinking. "We're on the same page, right?" he said. I nodded in agreement. "I mean, I know they'll be overjoyed when I return, and they won't even miss the money," I reasoned. But deep down, I knew that I needed it. I had numerous expenses on my mind. Ryan chimed in, revealing his own motivations. "You have no idea what I could do with $40,000. I could buy 40 new Xboxes, maybe even more." In response, I reminded him, "You're only getting $20,000. These are my parents who are making me do this, and I'm the one who's being victimized." Ryan negotiated. "How about $30,000? I rolled my eyes playfully. "Okay, fine, but how are we even going to pull this off?" We put our heads together and brainstormed a brilliant idea. We decided to drive to the nearest gas station. There, Ryan took a picture of me with only half of my face visible, making sure to blur it slightly to obscure the real location. With our plan in motion, we resolved to call my parents using a fake name. With our plan in motion, we dialed my dad's number anonymously, using a voice distortion feature to disguise our voices. As the phone rang, a sense of excitement welled up within me. My dad answered, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "Hello, who is this?" he inquired. Ryan immediately played the pre-recorded message we had prepared. "Hi, this is Aaron. I think I've seen your daughter around, and I have pictures of her. I'll send them to you, but I need you to send me Bitcoins," the disguised voice conveyed. My dad responded anxiously, "We're very interested in the photos, but the money has already been given to another caller." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What? I exclaimed while Ryan swiftly ended the call. Frustrated and bewildered, I said, "Who on earth is trying to extort my parents' money?" "Nobody kidnapped me." Ryan concurred, "Someone is definitely lying." I continued, "The only people who knew about this were your friends." Ryan immediately sent texts to his friends, seeking answers, but their responses were unanimous. We didn't say anything because we didn't want to get in trouble, so the mystery persisted. Who had taken the money? As we pondered this enigma, another shocking development unfolded. The television newscaster broadcasted Ryan's picture, identifying him as the prime suspect in the alleged kidnapping of an innocent teenager, me. I burst into laughter, finding the situation oddly humorous. However, Ryan was far from amused. Fear gripped him, and he declared, "Okay, we need to put an end to this right now. I can't afford to have a criminal record." I headed upstairs to gather my belongings, and we made our way back to town in Ryan's van. But just as we were driving, we heard a voice from the back of the vehicle exclaim, "Hey you! Stop the van! Pull over right now!" I shouted in panic as I glanced in the rearview mirror. The sight that met my eyes left me trembling. It was the police. My heart raced as I urged Ryan, "Stop the van immediately." 2 police cars were tailing us, and Ryan complied, bringing the van to a halt. As the adrenaline coursed through our veins, we heard one of the officers bark, "Exit the vehicle and raise your hands." Fear-stricken, we obeyed their orders. The police officer approached Ryan aggressively, delivering a punch to his stomach and a swift kick. They forcibly placed handcuffs on his hands and legs, causing him considerable pain. My cries of protest went unheard as they roughly manhandled Ryan and tossed him into their patrol car. Meanwhile, they escorted me to another police car, tears streaming down my face. 2 agonizing hours later, I sat at the police station sobbing inconsolably. Although everyone believed my tears were born of fear, the truth was that my heart ached for what they had done to Ryan. It wasn't his fault. I couldn't help but plead with the officers to stop, but they paid no heed. My parents arrived at the police station, rushing to embrace me and assure me that everything would be fine. However, when we were in the detective's office, I felt compelled to reveal the truth. My dad and mom, infuriated and disappointed, scolded me for my irresponsible and childish actions. They warned that I would be grounded for life, a prospect I dreaded. Thankfully, Ryan was eventually released, though his parents were just as upset with him. It seemed our paths wouldn't cross for a while. For 3 long weeks, I remained confined to my room, my parents barely speaking to me. My mind continued to churn with questions about the missing money, though I dared not broach the subject with my parents for fear of revealing my own ill-conceived scheme. However, my curiosity eventually got the better of me. One day, I overheard my sister Reagan on the phone saying, "Everything's set. I'm sending you the first payment and I'm moving in with you." The pieces fell into place. Reagan had taken the money. Filled with realization, I burst into her room, exclaiming, "It was you! You took the money!" Startled, she quickly covered my mouth with her hands. "Shut up, you fool!" Reagan snapped, her hands muffling my accusations. She went on to explain that she had overheard my conversations with Ryan, where we planned the fake kidnapping. At first, she had sympathized with our desire to challenge the absurd no-dating rule. But when the prospect of a substantial reward presented itself, she seized the opportunity. Reagan anonymously contacted our parents, describing a scenario where she had spotted me with a handsome guy, offering a detailed description of Ryan. She added that she wished to move out of our parents' home. As I stood there, grappling with the implications of her revelation, I couldn't help but recall Ryan's earlier proposition. "Give me $40,000 and I'll forget the whole thing. That's only fair." I hesitated but ultimately agreed, knowing that I was already grounded for months. Despite my confinement, the thought of having $40,000 at my disposal provided some solace, and it gave me hope for the future, especially in terms of pursuing my college education.